Just 10 elite universities, the Ivy Leagues, Stanford, and Northwestern, received a breathtaking $45 billion in federal government goodies over the past 5 years alone. Stanford alone received more than $7 billion in government grants and contracts. Columbia received more than $5.8 billion. Yale received $3.5 billion. Harvard received $3.2 billion. The list goes on.
Well, we know this. Some of you might know this. Some may not realize this or think about it. But, we're often being used, our own money is being used against us, like in direct contradiction to our wishes and wants. And this is, of course, obviously identified with the all the money that's being sent to the Ukraine by both parties. They're both all in it together, sending money to the Ukraine when the American people just don't want it sent there. There's probably, I would say, a very small percentage of Americans at this point that want any of our money sent to the Ukraine so that Zelensky can buy another mansion. Okay, and they can keep having outdoor club pool parties out in the Ukraine. I'm not kidding. This is going on. It's crazy. Not the regular citizens, no, just the elites, okay, that we've given our money to, or whatever. The printer goes burr, right? So it's just spinning for Ukraine right now, and many other entities. But let's get right to this. So let's focus on the colleges for a minute. Of course, this is in the news big time, but Elon Musk was kind of circulating this, and I think it's a point that a lot of us realize. Says doesn't make sense. Elon Musk asks why taxpayers fund anti-American activities on college campuses. Well, this is a radicalism that was instilled in college campuses since about, the 50s for sure, with Herbert Marcuse and his cronies coming over with the Frankfurt School and introducing cultural Marxism into the American college landscape. Therefore, after decades of this, we get these insane Kool-Aid drinking cultists that are actually in and of themselves, with all their talk of tolerance, have become the least tolerant of any group I've seen lately, with their death to Jews and all this stuff. And this isn't just coming from like Palestinians or somebody from the Middle East or some Muslim. This is coming from a bunch of white liberal tards. So this is a very good question, why our money is going towards this. Well, because it has been for years, and I think people have been asleep to this. And one thing communists are very good at is disguising their movement under different names and under different theories. So they label things differently so that they don't scare the group that they're trying to undermine. They don't come in and go, oh, it's communism. They will never call that out. They will say, oh, no, it's democratic socialism or it's progressivism. But progressivism is another name for communist. Communist desires, communist theory, okay? So cultural Marxism fits right under that. So, yeah. So Elon Musk is kind of highlighting a post by End Wokeness that talks about the federal funding of universities. Says it doesn't make sense that American taxpayers are forced to fund anti-American activities. And so here's the rundown right here. Here's the post. Federal funding of universities in 2023. Columbia University, $1.2 billion of federal funds. Penn, $955 million, NYU, $805 million, Yale, $776, Cornell, $736 million. These are all in the millions now. Columbia had over $1 billion, though. Harvard is up there, Austin, Berkeley, okay, and then George Washington University, $200 million. And these schools right here are the most radical schools. And some of them have had this reputation since, the 20s, actually, like Columbia with John Dewey. Yeah, he's the stinker that instilled communism there into the educational curriculum. That's the guy you want to clap for if you're a commie. So, yeah, there's a lot of money from the taxpayers to institutions that teach students to hate American taxpayers. It's really insane. It also goes back to what this writer here has been asking since this campus insanity started. How are these schools not getting fined, censured, and otherwise penalized for violating Title VI of the Civil Rights Act? Okay, they clearly are allowing violations to happen on campus daily, and the feds, who have no problem using the power of the purse in any other instance, are largely silent. And have you noticed how quiet the Biden regime is? Extremely quiet about this. I mean, when you have George Soros visit the White House 25 times since Biden's been in office, yeah, there's a reason you're silent, because that's where you're getting your 10% for the big guy from him. 10% to shut your mouth and don't say anything when these protests happen that are funded by Soros. Juanita Broderick says, and all the while, having billions in endowments, something has to change. Something has to change. What about them paying their fair share? Since this is socialism that they're all about, how come they're not paying their fair share? Okay, since that's what they're pushing. Well, that's because that's in reality on the ground. That's not how socialism really plays out. In theory, it's a nice dream. But when it plays out on the ground, I promise you, people who are proponents of socialism are not going to be funding the system. They will not be putting in their part. They will not be funding their fair share like they want you to. See, they don't include themselves in that. If I went to AOC and said, hey, AOC, in the name of socialism, I'm going to take your Tesla because the greater proletariat really needs your Tesla. How much you want to bet? She's like, whoa, that's my private property. Give that back. I'm calling the police right now. I guarantee it would be 100%. So Tim Young says, also, we need to see how much countries like Qatar fund these colleges. Well, I did a video on that too, how much they are funding these colleges. And Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Arab Emirates, and one other, they're funding, well, Qatar was funding it above $5 billion, all these colleges put together. And that was like in 1 year or 2 years, 22 to 23. So it was above 5 billion, just them, just Qatar. So you can see where this is coming from. A lot too, and that needs to stop. Ian Miles Chong says, my friend Will Chamberlain has a novel solution to the problem, seize the endowments. Will Chamberlain, he used to be on Amala Ekpanobi's show. Now he's kind of off doing his own thing, but I actually like him a lot. Seize the endowments. Endorsed. Natalie F. Danelishan says, it's mostly the money printer at this point. Well, it is. It is mostly the money printer because they wouldn't. From the taxpayers, there would not be this money. There wouldn't be enough money to pay for these colleges from the taxpayers. So they are using it for some of it, but the money printer right now is just on full blast. I mean, those printing presses at the Treasury and the Federal Reserve, those are spinning out of control. They're running red hot right now because there is no real money. So, yeah, the crash is coming, but there's no doubt. And when it crashes, so will these institutions. And honestly, just like they say here, I'm fine with that too. I'm fine. Thy geekdom come, it has long been thus. For a long, long time. Paul Zapula says, that's why American taxpayers shouldn't fund the federal government anymore. It won't even defend our borders. Meanwhile, it's funding racist universities at home and pointless wars overseas. Why are we even paying taxes anymore when they're not being spent to help Americans? Well, because they've decided the best warfare against America and the West is not to face them necessarily on a front, but to face them on many fronts, which includes like the southern open borders, mass migration, basically dissolving borders, crushing the economy through the use of welfare and socioeconomic like institutions like that. Read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. I mean, he was a psycho, but that's essentially what the plan is. Cloward Piven strategy, make the people of that country, those citizens, a prison. Make them the prisoners of your system. And you do that by basically collapsing the economy, collapsing socioeconomic policies, and in turn, you can, rising from the ashes, you can have this totalitarian state, okay? Because people will be so desperate, they'll go, fine, just give us whatever you want. And you can put us into prisons in cities, you can lock us up, you can give us QR codes to be able to even leave our own towns. We'll have digital passports. It's Bill Gates' wet dream, right? So Heidi says, yep, no sense at all. Why do we constantly fund people, organizations, and countries who wish to destroy us? Well, because it's the plan. We all know why. So we are funding these institutions, and then we are forgiving loans of the students who attend these institutions. Isn't that great? We're funding them, giving out tons of money in student loans, and then forgiving these same people. Because this is their little army right now. This is their army of commies. And so they are going to make it least costly for them financially in the end. Because these groups are their biggest supporters. These are the brown shirts for the Biden regime. But we're still evil, racist, inherently violent colonizers. Heads they win, tails we lose. Cheryl says any university allowing anti-Semitism should not receive any funding from the taxpayer, period. Well, yeah, any university allowing any type of ism like this, okay? Like, you may ask on a side note, am I a fan of the anti-Semitism bill that they passed the other day or the Republic? No, absolutely not, because I believe in free speech for American citizens. Okay, I don't believe that there should be a special protected class. I believe that the American citizens are the special class. So it should be the same across the board for anybody. And that is a bill, that is legislation that is absolutely prone to abuse. Anyway, so yeah, if these universities are teaching this, preaching this hatred and all this stuff against any group, yeah, rip their funding away. Anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism. You're free to speak your mind, but you're also free to pay for it yourself then. Yeah. So anyway, that's the scoop on that. And as you saw, we know what's going on. We see this going on at the universities right now. And it's a plethora, cornucopia of communism, correct? So anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching, folks. Let me know what you think in the comments. And please put a like on the video if you liked it. And please subscribe if you haven't. The algorithm is always this nasty little beast out there trying to shadow ban everybody. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.